Let's go. Time to grind, get inside your mind. Yeah, we working overtime. That's the only way to climb. We gon' make it in our prime. Signing on the dotted line, cashing checks left and right. That's the way I'm living life. I feel alive when I got a goal in sight. Chip away, I gotta fight. Ain't nobody else in sight. Man, I think I see the light. Yeah, that shit is so bright. Follow me, I got the guide. See you on the other side, son. Ain't nobody know what I've been through.
What is going on, everyone? And in this video, I'll be giving you my UFC Vegas 82 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, November 18, 2023 out of Las Vegas, Nevada. In the main event, we have Brendan Allen taking on Paul Craig. And then in the co-main event of the evening, we got Michael Morales taking on Jake Matthews. Overall, decent Vegas card as per usual. Is starting a little bit earlier, so I mean, that's good. I don't know if they're doing this obviously for F1. Probably, right? They're not going to try to be on at the same time because sometimes when they have those later cards, that shit drags out until like 1 o'clock in the morning or something. But we'll see how this one goes. I think it's okay, right? Main event could be a good banger in the middleweight division, but nothing too crazy. Either way, let's go ahead and talk about it. In the first fight on the main card, we have Uros Myktybek, and he'll be taking on a newcomer, right? We got a new guy on short notice. Myktybek, Orolbai. And so this is an interesting fight because anytime there's a short notice fight, it's short notice for both guys, right? Obviously, the guy who's coming in, Orolbai, coming out of LFA, he has multiple wins inside there. I will say, though, some of his wins and like the opponent's records, it's not like he's knocking out the best guys in the world, right? So when you look at his past 3 opponents, they've definitely lost after he's beaten them. Take that for what it is. But he's been able to take out the guys he's needed taken out, right? So you look at his last fight, nasty uppercut victory against Hayward Charles in round number 2. I think he might try to mix in some wrestling here. It's kind of hard to say what he's going to do, though, because obviously in close, it looks like he can generate a good amount of power, right? He can definitely take someone out. And when you look at Myktybek here, 3-1 inside of the UFC, outside of the Dana White Contender Series fight. And there's moments where like I feel like he definitely can get lit up. But as the fight goes on, it seems like he does a little bit better. We saw that against Matthew Semelsberger. You know, it was actually kind of back and forth. Semelsberger actually ended up dropping him in that fight too. But then you had Myktybek come back with that spinning back elbow, getting the victory in round number 3. So I think as the fight goes on, he gets a little bit better. He is definitely open to getting hit, and that's my concern here, is that if Orolbai comes in here, is able to close that distance and take advantage of some of those opportunities in close. I mean, if he lands like a clean shot, like an uppercut, or is able to take him down consistently and smash him out, he can obviously win this fight. But that being said, it's still sketchy just because I feel like Myktybek can come into this fight, take it to round number 3 and see what he can do from there. But that's my problem is, you know, you get a little bit hyped up. You got one guy like Orolbai coming in here on short notice. He's going to be excited to get in there. But then at the end of the day, if he goes out here early, doesn't get a finish, maybe he's looking for it, Myktybek can survive a little bit, take over. And actually, the odds are in favor of Orolbai. He's a -150. So the odds are saying that he's a slight favorite. When you look at Myktybek, he's a near even favorite at a +120. I do think, unfortunately, though, like I said, I think Orolbai on a full camp, it'll be interesting to see. So hopefully he performs well here so he can get a full camp. But Myktybek, it just seems like as the fight goes on a little bit more, he gets a little better. Now, his fight against Jalen Turner, though, unfortunately for him, he just got absolutely shut down. It was really, I think, because of the pressure from Jalen Turner. He just had nothing going for him in that one, and he just got shut down. He does have good takedown defense. I feel like Myktybek can't fight off that back foot. He's got to be pressing forward. He's got to be throwing out good volume, which I think he can do, but he just needs to be a little bit careful here against Orolbai. But he needs to overwhelm him throughout the course of the fight, and I think Myktybek needs to get a finish here, especially against someone like Orolbai, who is definitely not, 11-1 record, UFC debut. Got to go in there and try to take this guy out. Really show that, like, hey, you can't just show up here, expect to take me out. So Orolbai could definitely land here. And if Myktybek isn't able to defend the takedowns, it could be a concern. I think Myktybek's also going to try to go after those legs, throw a lot of leg kicks, go to the body, just put a lot of volume on him. And then I think for Orolbai, he wants to get in close, see if he can land some shots on him, and then probably mix in a takedown here and there. But that being said, it's just a sketchy fight all around. But I'm going to go with Uros Myktybek to defeat Myktybek Orolbai. I'll take him to win by round 3, KO TKO. In the second fight, we have Luana Pinheiro 11-1 taking on Amanda Ribas 12-4 in a women's strawweight bout. So this is an interesting fight because Pinheiro obviously undefeated inside of the UFC 3-0. Now there was a DQ in her first fight, but in the past 2 fights, split decision against Michelle Waterson-Gomez and then a win over Sam Hughes via decision. Not the best opponents. Obviously, Michelle Waterson-Gomez is a good win, but she's kind of on her way out. So take it for what it is. Now, Amanda Ribas, a lot more fights inside the UFC, been here since June 29th of 2019. And in her last fight, she's coming off a loss. Then she won, loss, won, loss. So she's fought a lot of the top level competition too. She wasn't able to beat Katlyn Chookagian, who you got to get past her to kind of tap into that next echelon of fighters inside of the division. She lost that one via split decision. She did land 3 takedowns in that fight. She landed 2 takedowns against Vivian Arahu, and then she got 2 takedowns against Maycee Barber, even though she lost that fight. So she's definitely going to go in here and probably try to land some takedowns. That being said, Luana Pinheiro can also utilize some grappling, some takedowns in there too. So it might negate itself, or they might just have a lot of moments where they're going back and forth on the grappling. I think it might be primarily on the feet, at least at first. My concern here is both of them have that kind of striking where I think Pinheiro's is a little bit more cleaner, but not by much. And I think both have good power. I think Ribas has good power, but there's moments when they're striking, it just gets a little bit awkward where I think they leave themselves exposed and they're definitely susceptible to be getting just absolutely lit up. Chin high, stuff like that. Just the striking gets a little bit sloppy, especially as the fight goes on. But I think both girls, good cardio. I don't see it being like a slugfest or anything like that. I'm just saying there's moments where both of them just have a lack of defense. We saw that especially in Amanda Ribas' last fight against Maycee Barber. There were moments where she was getting pieced up, and it was just because her defense. She looked like, I think they even said it during the commentary that she was like wide eye, bug-eyed looking, like she just looked a little bit awkward in there. Amanda Ribas also has to be careful of going for those takedowns. At the end of the day, no one's getting submitted. But we all have, all these fighters have the ability to probably land a submission. So when you get into these grappling exchanges, and then even if you're the one initiating them, you could also end up being the one on the opposite end of it if you get reversed or anything like that. So I really don't know if they're going to be doing that too much. And if it plays out on the feet, like I think Pinheiro she seems a little bit more tactical. She, like I said earlier, there's a little bit of moments for both of these fighters where they get a little bit reckless, but Pinheiro just seems a little bit more cleaner on the feet. And I think if she can consistently land, right, I think she might be able to pull this one off. And it's going to be tough, right? It's definitely going to be tough. But this will really show whether or not Pinheiro can hit that next level. I think a win over Amanda Ribas, who, she's fought some pretty good competition in this division. I think it's a pretty good win. But it might be a back and forth, right? I think both are going to land their shots. Both might get a takedown here or there, or they might be able to defend the takedowns. Both might go for a submission. But I think over the course of the 3 rounds, it's just going to be Pinheiro landing the cleaner shots, taking advantage of moments where Amanda Ribas is open to some things. But that's not to say that they won't both, be bleeding at the end of this or whatever. I think both could land, but Pinheiro is just going to be a little bit better in some of those exchanges to where she's able to pull off a close decision. So I'm going to go with Luana Pinheiro to defeat Amanda Ribas. I'll take her to win by decision. In the third fight on the main card, we have Payton Talbott 6-0, making his UFC debut out of the Dana White Contender Series, taking on Aguirre 7-1 in a bantamweight bout. It's a very interesting fight. Talbot's coming in over -700 favorite, so pretty expected to come in here and absolutely annihilate Nick Aguirre. But we've all seen crazier things have happened. So for Talbott, judging off his fight inside of Dana White Contender Series, great combinations, put up a lot of volume in that one against Reyes Cortez Jr. 145 significant strikes to 76 from Cortez Jr. He defended 16 takedowns out of 17, so Cortez Jr. only landed one, but he pretty much got back up after that one, so it really wasn't too much going on with that. And we'll see if that takedown defense holds up here. I don't know if Aguirre is going to be able to consistently take him down or if he even tries to do that, but I do think with his grappling, he might try to get those takedowns just to see what happens. So we'll have to see if Talbot's going to be able to defend them and stay on the feet. Heavy leg kicks, good combinations. See if that takedown defense holds up. And Talbot, he did eat some clean shots in that one. He definitely ate some pretty clean shots. Maybe needs to tighten up his striking defense a little bit better. But regardless, he's going to come out here and be aggressive. For Aguirre, unfortunately, didn't win his last fight in the UFC. He lost via unanimous decision. He got taken down 4 times. He defended 2 takedowns. He did go for one submission attempt, but mainly just kind of got outstruck and just taken down those 4 times. So really didn't have too much going on in that fight. I don't think for Aguirre he needs to worry about getting taken down. I mean, it could always happen, but I think if anything, if you look at his previous fights, like I've suggested, he's got multiple submission victories, so he may try to clinch, maybe try to push against the fence, see if he can get a takedown against Talbot and see what Talbot has on the floor, right? He's going to have to create angles, right? Aguirre, he can't just sit there and back up if Talbot's being too aggressive, stringing together a lot of volume. He just has to, he's going to have to deal with that aggression somehow. Aguirre, he needs to make it ugly, right? He can't let Talbot kind of just find that distance and pick him apart. Go for those low kicks too, maybe take away some of the movement. And yeah, I mean, he's going to have to be able to match Talbot's volume, right? At least on the feet, or try to go in for some grappling. So we'll see. But I can understand why, right, Talbot's such a big favorite, because you've got a guy like Aguirre who kind of got shut down in his last fight, and he's not going in for takedowns or anything. Obviously that'll be his key to victory here, but I think what you're really looking at is like you're assuming Talbot's going to be able to defend any takedowns, get out of any of these grappling situations, and kind of just resort back to lighting him up on the feet. And whether that leads to a finish or just a unanimous decision, we'll have to see. But I'm going to go with Payton Talbot to defeat Nick Aguirre. Also, I'm going to win by round 2, KO TKO. In the 4th fight on the main card, we have Chase Hooper, 12-3-1, taking on Jordan Leavitt, 11-2, in a lightweight bout. So this is a pretty, just very unorthodox fight for both of these guys. I think this is one of those fights where you have to go with the underdog, just because, unless like hindsight, one of them just gets absolutely annihilated. But for the most part, I think Chase Hooper is still very young, still up and coming, still very green on the feet too. I don't know how how he would deal with like just better guys who are able to drag the fight on. And for me, Leavitt is going to have to do something like that. Like the way he was able to get that victory against Victor Martinez in the last one via that clinch to the knees, he just kind of made it ugly, right? He didn't sit back and just like lazily dive in for a takedown and miss it. I think if either of one of them does that in this one, they just might end up in a submission or like getting mounted or whatever. So I don't know if either guy is going to be diving in for takedowns like that. For Hooper, we saw in his last fight against Nick Fiore, he was able to definitely put on the volume in that one. Hard to tell how much of that was just Nick Fiore not being like one of the better fighters, as opposed to Chase Hooper being like great again or anything like that, because we saw Chase Hooper against Steve Garcia, and in that one, I mean, he just got absolutely annihilated. Like he just wasn't able to do anything in that fight, was just getting absolutely crushed with the strikes, and then he got finished. So can you we have to see like Chase Hooper fight another really good striker and see if he can last in there. I think both guys are going to get tired. I definitely think it's going to get to that point, especially if Leavitt's trying to make it ugly. Leavitt's going to have to make it ugly. He doesn't want to just get stuck on the outside, getting combinations thrown at him, and then really doesn't have anything. Both guys can throw some pretty good kicks. Hooper's striking, at least from a distance, I feel like might be a little bit better. He'll definitely throw a lot more pop shots out there, go for the head kick, stuff like that. Leavitt, he'll go for some kicks too, but I think obviously in close, if he can start, grab a hold of Hooper and start slamming knees into him and making it that ugly fight, I could definitely see Jordan Leavitt winning this one by a finish. And I think either of these guys is going to win by finish, because I think by like a third round or even into the second round, especially if they get into a couple of grappling exchanges, they're going to be a little bit more tired than normal. And I think that's when you're going to make some mistakes, or you're just going to shut down if somebody grabs a hold of you and just slamming knees into you when you're tired. It's just not going to be the best. So early on, maybe they try to get into a grappling exchange. We see him just diving for the ankle lock or a knee bar, like who knows. But I think for Leavitt, get into that second round, start tiring out the kid, right? Start tiring him out a little bit, get him to just, he starts eating a lot more shots. And then if you can get in close and start teeing off with knees and making it an ugly fight, I think Jordan Leavitt might be able to get a finish here. So again, both guys are awkward. Both guys could win this fight, but I'm actually going to go with Jordan Leavitt to defeat Chase Hooper by round 2, KO TKO. In the co-main event of the evening, we have Michael Morales 15-0 taking on Jake Matthews 19-6 in a welterweight bout. So for me, if Morales didn't have his last fight against Max Griffin, I would definitely be super sketched, because you got one of those guys who's undefeated coming out Dana White Contender Series. He beats 2 guys that are okay, but not anything crazy. And then he runs into someone like Jake Matthews, where not that Jake Matthews is like star talent, but he's definitely a guy who can kind of shake things up a little bit. So I think the win, especially a unanimous decision victory where he outstruck him, and he actually landed a takedown in that fight against someone like Max Griffin, who we've seen spoil some parties before. I think that's a pretty solid win to have. Now, obviously, Max Griffin too is not, the next guy in line or whatever, but Morales defended all 8 of those takedowns and even got 1 takedown. Now, you could see he was a little bit tired going through that fight, right? Having to defend all those takedowns, but I don't think Matthews is going to be going for 8 takedowns in this fight. I just don't think that's going to be happening. I think he might try to go in for some takedowns, but I don't think he's going to be, just only going in for takedowns. I think Matthews has moments where he can, especially if his opponents are a little bit tired. I mean, I really think that showed in the Andre Fialho fight, where he was just taking advantage of Fialho starting to fade and having those openings. And he's dangerous, man. Again, it wasn't expected. I don't think anyone thought he was going to finish, because he usually wins by decision or submission. And so that's something to keep an eye on too, right? If he can get any moments of grappling exchanges where he can land a submission, he's probably going to go for it. So Michael Morales, I think he tries to keep the fight standing. Really good combinations, good power. Obviously, good takedown defense. Does his best work when he's able to create the distance, set up the shots. And he's not a sloppy guy early on. He's definitely not winging big shots. Like, he's definitely trying to fight tactical, set up the shots. Because he knows if he just lands a couple of times, he's going to hurt the opponent pretty bad. Don't brawl with Matthews. Matthews might try to make it ugly, right? Just by throwing stuff out there, getting in close, trying to rip to the body, and just getting into one of those brawls. And that might work if it's able to go like Morales is getting tired or something. But still, I think Morales would probably want to keep this fight standing. And he's going to be very dangerous early on. And we've seen Matthews be hurt bad. So, yeah, I mean, I could see Matthews getting taken out here. We saw that against Semmelsberger, right? He got dropped 3 times in that fight. Tough, though. Like, not that he's getting knocked out every fight. And actually, he hasn't gotten knocked out every fight. But he has been dropped. So we know he can be dropped. And I don't think Michael Morales is going to be that type of guy where he just drops him once, runs over, gets too careless, and then Matthews is firing back. I don't think it's be like that. I think he could drop him and like let him let him stay there and kind of just piece him up over 3 rounds. He has to be careful. Morales definitely has to be careful, but I just think his striking is just far more technical. I think he's going to be able to defend the takedowns, and I'm not really worried about like Matthews putting an insane pace to where Morales is like gassed out and then he just gets clipped. And I just don't see that happening because I think Morales is going to be able to drop him. I think it could be like a Matthews Semmelsberger fight where he drops him like 3 times and it goes to a decision. So yeah, I mean, who knows? Matthews could definitely do something crazy here, but I really think it's just going to be up to Morales to like badly make mistakes or completely just gas out like we've never seen him before. So I'm going to go Michael Morales to defeat Jake Matthews by decision. In the main event of the evening, we have Brendan Allen taking on Paul Craig, 22-5 for Allen, 17-6-1 for Craig in a middleweight bout. So Brendan Allen will be coming to this one with, I think, just the better stand-up, right? Better combinations, good jab, but he can hang on the floor, like multiple wins by submission. Ever since he lost to Chris Curtis, he's been on a little bit of a roll, and he's only lost to the current champion in this division, Sean Strickland, back, when was that? November 14, 2020, KO/TKO in round number 2, but he's been able to fight everyone else and take them out, so he's a good fighter on the feet and obviously has good submission skills. For Paul Craig, he's a little bit too reliant on getting those takedowns and then getting the submissions, right? He'll kind of just sacrifice himself to get some of these submissions. Now, if he lands it, like we saw against Nikita Krylov, great win. Jamal Hill snaps him up, right? Mauricio Hua, right? He kind of had to take him out there, in my opinion. But he's kind of just win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, loss, win. You know, against Andre Muniz just has shown in his past 2 fights that he's super one-dimensional. And Craig's striking, although I don't think it's better than Allen's, he definitely has some power and he can hurt you. Like, you don't want to just let that go. And Craig can, and I think both guys, but Craig definitely has shown that he can stay in there. You know, he's not going to just gas out horribly, but if he gets hurt, man, like, it's all over. Like, we saw that in his fight against Johnny Walker. He definitely got hurt in that one, going in for the or at least trying to get a takedown, just get that grappling going, but just not good win for him. Not a good loss for him. For Brendan Allen, coming off that win against Bruno Silva, submission, rear naked choke. He's also submitted Andre Muniz, rear naked choke. So yeah, I mean, Brendan Allen is definitely going to be able to hang. And on the feet, I just think he's going to be better, just a lot better. So it could be a close fight. Maybe both guys are able to get into multiple grappling exchanges, fend them off, and it goes to like a decision. Although I think unfortunately for this fight, if it goes to a decision, it's going to be one of the most boring things we've ever seen. I do think though, early on, you'll kind of see who's winning, right? I think either if that's maybe Craig gets a submission victory early on because Allen makes a mistake, or we see Brendan Allen hurt him badly and then go for the ground and pound and take him out. I don't think Allen would be able is going to try to submit him unless like it's there. I think for the most part, Allen was going to hurt him on the feet and then follow through and just try to get that KO/TKO. So yeah, I just think Allen striking on the feet is going to be enough and defensively be enough to like not just get submitted in 10 seconds. And then for Craig, he's not fighting a guy who's just going to try to dive in for a takedown. Like, he's fighting a guy who is a little bit more agile on the feet than Andre Muniz. So I'm going to go with Brendan Allen on this one. I'm going to take him to defeat Paul Craig by round 1 KO/TKO. So that'll do it, guys, for my UFC Vegas 82 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday. Let me know who you are picking in the main event, Brendan Allen, Paul Craig. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, please. And I'll see you guys in the next video.